Yes, we provide help at Victim Support Malta regardless of whether or not you have reported the assault to the authorities. So I want to start off by saying that guilt and shame are very common reactions to sexual violence, to sexual assault. I also want to say that none of this is your fault and you are not to blame for anything that has happened to you. A lot of the time, guilt and shame comes about through my experience. I found that it comes mainly through society and what we have been taught over time and what society tends to think or say surrounding these events. So guilt normally comes through what I should or what I shouldn't have done. Society often has a lot of opinions surrounding this topic. So you shouldn't have spoken to this person, you shouldn't have been out at that time on your own, you shouldn't have been wearing these clothes, you should have asked for help earlier on, you should have screamed, you should have fought them off. But really and truly in that moment, you were doing the best that you could with the resources that you had. And you are not to blame for anything that you didn't do or that you did do. So it's very normal to feel guilty after this. Shame then comes about because very often people find it difficult to talk about these events, and others find it difficult to listen. So sometimes these conversations are kind of pushed aside or forgotten about. They are difficult feelings, difficult emotions to understand if you are not if you haven't experienced it yourself. So shame tends to come about through that. Unfortunately, sometimes even professionals tend to contribute towards this feeling of feeling shame, to victims feeling the shame. And the most important thing is that the people that you meet straight after the assault, those are the most pivotal people. So those are the people who will mold the way that you think about the guilt, about the shame, following the events. So if you've met somebody who is supportive, who understands you, who's listening to you actively, and who's offering you a helping hand, you will have a very different reaction following the event, rather than if you met somebody who's telling you, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? You should have done this. So that creates a very different feeling around it. So again, the baseline of all this is that you are not to blame. You did the best that you could, given the situation that you are in.